Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. I had so much fun with the last farming simulator video that I made, I decided to make another. So, just like before, I'm gonna shout out my farming channel. I have a real life channel where I work on my real life farm, and I will link that in the description and also probably in the pinned comment. If you have any interest in agriculture or just seeing me mess around on my farm at all, go ahead and click on that link, subscribe to the channel, and please watch some of the content. I think it's pretty good. I enjoy making it a lot. So with all that being said, let's dive into the video. So last time I made one of these videos, I showed the tractor lineup that you can get for the Deutz DX series, and I explained how Deutz is probably my all-around favorite tractor brand, just based on my experiences using them in real life, the various pros and cons of them. They're excellent, excellent tractors, especially the air-cooled diesels. So, with all that being said, in that video I showed the DX lineup, which starts in 78 and goes until, well, some of them run all the way through till 89-90, before being replaced by the AgroStar and AgroPrima series in Europe, and here in the United States being sort of supplanted, but still kind of running alongside all of the offerings from Deutz Alice, which was the North American company from 85 to 1990. But with all that being said, today's video is going to be for the 06 series, and now this is probably the most legendary series Deutz ever had. It sold like freaking hotcakes. These tractors were super popular. In fact, they're so popular that they still are to this day used on many farms, including my own. In fact, in my most recent video, at least at the time of recording this video, we are using a 6806 in that video, and that is a late series, so it would have been built sometime in the late 70s or early 80s, right before the 06 series was phased out, but still, those tractors are being used to this day on farms, so that's how good they are. And just, that's one of the things to say for the air-cooled diesels: rugged reliability and, you know, ease of maintenance. They are long-lived tractors. So with all that being said, this video is a series of mods, or I'll be showing a series of mods that introduce an entire lineup all the way from, I believe the smallest one is 55 horsepower, or maybe 52, but I'll show you as we go through them, all the way up to 160 horsepower. So this is a decent lineup for the small to medium range. If you're going to supplement it with other Deutz mods, maybe for some of their larger tractors on the larger offering, you can have an entire air-cooled lineup to run your farm in Farming Simulator 22. So let's just take a look at them. So you can see I've got them lined up over there. I have them all designed as modern as they could be. So the 06 series, being one that goes from the early 60s, I believe, all the way to the early 80s, was a series of tractors that was built for a long time. And with that being said, they went through a series of different changes color-wise. They start out with a very dark silver or dark green paint job for their exterior sheet metal with gold lettering and a silver undercarriage, to then a slightly lighter green and black, to this very light green and an actually dark blue. So this is actually not accurate. I mean, I did choose the 06 special paint job for each one of them, so maybe the special was still black, but all of the late series Deutzes I've ever seen that have this shade of green on them always have the dark navy blue for the undercarriage. But with all that being said, this is a pretty sweet lineup we've got here. So you can see we have a 5206, a 5506, a 6206, a 6806, a 7006, a 7206, an 8006, and like I said, whenever optional, I chose the special because I just like the way they look. So the 8006 special, the 9006 special, the 10006 special, the 13006 special, and of course the big boss itself, the 16006, which is an old version and one that you really don't see a whole lot of in the United States. This one is not common anywhere. It was never a very popular tractor because at the time that Deutz introduced that tractor, that was really big for agriculture. There were not a lot of tractors rocking a 160 horsepower in the 60s when this tractor came out, and so it just never took off like the rest of them did. But they do exist, and I have seen one in real life. So, pretty cool, I would say. Now, out of all these tractors, ones that I have personally driven or done any field work with in real life, I've used a 13006. My dad has one, so there's one that exists on the farm. It is currently not in running order because he damaged it using some equipment that was far too large for it, but it will get fixed up and will be used again on the farm at some point. I have driven a 10006, but I never used it for work. I've never used a 9006. I've used an 8006 a lot. It's probably the Deutz tractor out of all of them that I've driven the most, except for one other one that we'll get to. I've never used a 72. I've never used a 70. I've used a 68 a lot. It is the tractor I've driven more than any other tractor in the world. We have a 6806 on our farm. Like I said, in my most recent video on my farming channel, you can actually see us using it. And it is laid out kind of like this. I put the loader attacher on it just because that is the loader tractor on our farm. Of course, ours has so many hours on it. It rolled over at least once before it broke, and the tack currently says something in the range of 6,000 or 7,000 hours, and that's like I said after it rolled over once. So that tractor has been used forever and hard. It has not been used on light work for most of that time. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that's the 68. We also have a 62, so I've used a 62 quite a bit. It's a very small tractor for someone of my size, but you know, I can. I've never used a 55, and I've never even seen a 52. So that is our lineup. We'll go through these in the store now, just so I can show you the options. So most of these are going to be in the small tractor category. When you install these mods, they will just all be down at the end. The first couple mods are going to be simple. There's a mod that introduces, well, basically it's 3 different mods for these tractors. So there's one mod for this 06 series, one mod for this one, and then one mod that adds both of these. So the smallest of this series, or of these mods that contains the smallest of these, is the 5206, the 5506, the 6206, and then they also have a pumped 6206, which gives you 82 horsepower. So you can use a small frame and they put an unrealistically large engine in it, or you could say that maybe they just turboed the existing engine. Either way, it comes with a variety of options. You can see that we've got different cab and front weight options, and then of course the color can be changed through the various different Deutz colors. So there's that darker Oliver looking green, there's the more faded one that many people are familiar with, and then of course the actual shade it's supposed to be. And our rim color, we have options from the original kind of rusty red look that they had, or not original, but they went to that early. Then we have the more faded look that again people might be familiar with, and then we have the more modern silver rims that they went to once they switched to this lighter green. So lots of color options for all of those. And like I said, as far as horsepower goes, the 5206 has 52 horsepower, the 5506 has 55, the 6206 has 62, and the pumped has 82. So those are your options for that first mod. Our second mod adds in these ones as 4-wheel drive optional, so you can switch them from 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive depending on if you want. This one has the 6806, which has 65 horsepower, the 7006 with 70 horsepower, the 7206 with 72 horsepower, and then the 7206 pumped, which has 123 horsepower. So that's a substantial amount of pumping, I would say. Again, we have various options for that, from front weights to cabs, or to both. We've got different wheel setups that we can go with based on the various different brands. We can put the passenger seats on the fenders, which are nice. I would love to have one of those in real life, so when I take my kids on the tractor with me, they have a nice safety rest there to hold on to. We can, of course, put loaders on the thing. This has the front PTO option, which I don't believe was ever standard as an option for the 06 series, but it's fun to be able to use, and it was added with the 07 series. You can do various different roll bars and or cabs. I like how they have the soft style European cab option. Not cab, but roll bar with the soft front and windows and everything. And of course, like I said, front loaders. Various different options there, and a variety of different colors that you can go with. So pretty substantial options for the second range of Deutz tractors that we're adding with these mods. Then we of course come to our 8006 through 10006 and our 13006. So this one includes the 80, the 90, and the 100, and now you'll see here that there are a ton of options. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I'll stop briefly to show you our horsepower offerings with each model, the 80, the 90, and the 100, which you should be able to guess based on those numbers. But also you can see how many different paint job options there are. So this is what I was talking about with the original one. It's got a much darker green that's very similar to the American tractor brand Oliver. It's close in that shade, but you can see we have the gold bronzish lettering on it, which I actually really like how that looks. And then we have that light grayish white or silver undercarriage paint, and of course the red rims. So that's the original 06 series paint job, and you can see that we have the options of the regular, slightly more faded, than the new option. Then we get to our 1974 refit, which is where we get to that black undercarriage and the slightly darker but much more close to spring green for our sheet metal, and of course then we also have our red rims still. So that's our mid-70s 06 series Deutz look that I think is still relatively common to see around. And of course we have a used and a new version of that. But then we get to the, then you have the special, which just gives you the black outline around the lettering, which I do like, which is why I chose that for all of mine. But then we get to 78, which is the more modern, or what I'm going to be using, the 78 Special New, which is what I designed all mine as. So here, like I said, they have a little bit of a inaccuracy in their paint design here, as someone quite familiar with these tractors. This undercarriage and all of the stuff that you see that's black on here, that's actually a very dark blue on the 1978 paint style for these. But the rest of it is pretty accurate. We have the light whitish silver rims, we have the light spring green coloring for all the sheet metal and the hood and everything. Looks pretty dang good. So that's our 8006. You can see 80 horsepower. Here's our 9006, which we have 92 horsepower. And here we have our 106 with 100 horsepower. And again, we've got tons of options for this. There's several different wheel brands. We have BKT, Verdstein, Michelin, Midas, and Continental. And then, of course, various different options for each of those, from wheel weights to narrow tires, all over the place. Lots of different options, two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive options. We have the option for a various different roll cages, including the soft top, hard top, and then we have our cabs. We have both the Fritz Meyer Europa cabin and the Fritz Meyer Special cabin, and then, of course, just open cockpit. Then, of course, we have options for front weights, both 500, 700 kilograms, and front hydraulics, which are always fun and very useful. We have various exhaust options for these ones, so a regular straight pipe with turbo loader. Then we also have the air filter option, so you can go from none to air filter low and air filter high. And of course, you can put a front loader attacher on these, actually two different variants. And so lots of different options there, but like I said, that's our 80, our 90, and our 100 are all included there. And then we get to our, as far as standard tractors go, for the 06 series, because most people don't consider the 160-06 to be part of it just because it was a very early model and it never really took off. The 130-06 was the big workhorse tractor for the 06 series. And it is also the main offering that you'll see when people will talk about muscle tractors. This is Deutz's mainline offering into the muscle tractor era at 130 turbocharged horsepower. Now you'll see right here it says 120 horsepower. Not sure where they're getting that. As far as I know, the 130-06 came standard with 130 horsepower, but whenever it was turbocharged, which like I said was a factory option, and ours is turbocharged, you get up to 140 plus. I've seen some of them cranked all the way up to 150. Ours is right around 140, I believe. It might be 145. Not sure where it was last tested. But the 130-06 was one that basically, since it was the top end of the 06 series, they turbocharged the crap out of it as a factory option so you could actually get some serious work done with it. And so, like I said, our 130-06 on our farm is actually around 140 to 145 horse. So 120 horse is not accurate for that. As far as I know, I've never seen a 130 with that little horsepower. But again, same, lots of options here, lots of different tire options, different roof options, and I chose to go with the Fritz Meyer Europa cabin for ours. Of course, the tractors we have on our farm don't have cabs at all, so they're all open cockpit. But then again, yeah, lots of different options. So that's our 130-06. Then we move to our biggest one in the 06 lineup, which is of course the 160-06, our articulated hog tractor. The one that I saw in real life did not have a cab, so it was open cockpit like this. One thing that I did like about them is that they came stock with a buddy seat. Another really, really early innovation that Deutz did before pretty much anyone else. They had, they were getting into the large horsepower articulated tractor market before a lot of brands ever considered that, and were contemporary with a lot of the early brands that did. But they also introduced the buddy seat. I shouldn't say introduced because I'm not sure if that's totally accurate, but I've been around a lot of older tractors and most of them don't have that, but the 160-06 did. So you can see we have lots of wheel options. We can go with dual wheels on the front and back, narrow tires, all that sort of stuff. We have various different motor covers for the front, so you can do the stock is just open, then we have covers, and then we have covers with decals. We can do a cabin, which I did choose to do on this one since it's our big horse. And of course, we have different attacher options because it's an articulated tractor. As standard, they typically didn't come with a 3-point arm or a PTO. We do have the option to put a 3-point hitch on this one. And then of course, colors on this one relatively limited because it's an early one. You can go with the industrial yellow color, make it look more like a cat, municipal orange, black, or of course, Deutz green. And this is the early Deutz green. And rim color options are the same. We can do Deutz red, or we can do the more modern gray, or go with black. Of course, if you want to keep it iconic, gotta go with red. So that is our 160, which of course has 160 horsepower. Most of these are okay. I think that a lot of the sound files for a lot of the mods for Deutz tractors in this game are pretty dang good. I'm not overly impressed with the very low offerings of these ones, and I'll show you why. So here I'll just, without talking, I'll go through and show you what they sound like to start up and drive. So these small 50 series ones, the 52, 55, not the 62 because I've actually used that one. I can't remember if these are 2-cylinder or 3-cylinder. But they definitely have a very unique sound for startup and drive. Kind of clunky. I don't hate it, but it's not the sound that I am most familiar with as far as Deutz tractors go. So you'll see that all three of these small ones sound basically the same. They have that whirring, whizzing, wind-up sound for the starter, and just kind of a gentle clunk for the engine running sound. So you'll see that, like I said, the 52, 55, and the 62 all have essentially the same sound files. Once we get up to the 68, it sounds a bit more accurate, in my opinion. So that one has the Deutz startup sound that I am by far the most familiar with. So here, I'll stop it and I'll start it again without talking just to show you it. That sounds exactly like starting up an 06 series Deutz. And I even like how the shut-off sounds. So with these, if you're not familiar, to turn off a tractor, most tractors from this era, but certainly the 06 series Deutzes, you actually have a pull. It's basically manually choking out your engine to shut it off. So listen to that when we exit the tractor. So it takes a couple seconds for it to shut down. That sounds great. I love the sound files for these ones. Like I said, the three smallest ones, I'm not overly impressed by the sound files, but these next ones all sound essentially the same, and they nailed it. It sounds great. So here we'll go to the 70. The 72. So all three of those ones are those the middle range for the smaller ones. Now we'll get into the bigger ones. So here's our 8006. So I love that we have our exhaust flap on top. You can actually hear that ticking. The startup sound was, again, not as good as those last three we looked at, but still not too bad. The running sound, though, is quite good. That sounds a lot like a Deutz 8006. And like I said, I've spent a lot of time behind the steering wheel on an 8006. Hey, we actually have fenders on these other two. I didn't notice that I didn't have them on this one, but I have them on the 90 and the 100. There's our 90. There's our 100. So you'll notice the 80, the 90, and the 100, all the sound files are exactly the same. We'll check the 13006. Alright, that one doesn't sound bad. The startup was a bit anticlimactic. Yeah, it just goes right into the startup, so you don't hear any crank, which I don't love, but it's alright. It's weird seeing a cab on it. I put it on there just to demonstrate that it's like the bigger tractor in the series, but I'm not used to driving 06s with cabs on them. But yeah, there's our 130. Now let's get to our big horse. Look at this bad boy. It starts up like a semi. I'm guessing that I should say sound-wise and like the crank sound, it doesn't sound like a Deutz starting up. It sounds more like an old 1970s semi-truck. So I'm guessing that for sound files, that's just what they used. Yeah, the driving is the same too. That doesn't sound anything like a Deutz. I like it. I genuinely enjoy the tractor because it's a classic piece of Deutz history. I gotta remember it's an articulated tractor, so I need to actually finish the turn when I'm done with it. But yeah, pretty cool. A lot of people that are even Deutz fans, I don't know if that's an accurate thing to call people, but even Deutz fans, a lot of them are not. They didn't know that the 16006 ever existed, so pretty cool, I think. But that is our full series, so if you want to really rock out the classic air-cooled Deutz diesel lifestyle in Farming Simulator 22, you can do it pretty well here, all the way down from 52 horse up to 160. So that is our full Deutz 06 series lineup in Farming Simulator 22. Like I said, links should be in the description, and if you want to check out my real-life farming channel, I definitely encourage you to do so. That link will also be in the description, and possibly also a pinned comment if I remember to do that. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.